Hi, my name is Nathan, and today we're going to do a comic book review of Venom, issue number 5, brought to you by Rated Comics. Let's get to it. Now we begin this issue with who Meridius is, and we get to know a little bit more, if not a lot more about him. Meridius talks about, in a game like this, you can set up the board, but even after the play has started, I am not restricted to linear moves. He is playing against a novice, Eddie Brock, who tumbled helplessly through the centuries, unable to control his fall. And if you notice in the yellow background, it highlights future and past events, and also foreshadows future events that how Meridius is traveling through time. He is time's master. He's had millennia to prepare for the game that he's playing with, and the son that Eddie Brock left behind, Dylan. Thousands of years to become who I must be to win it. Meridius, I am the highest, who surrounds all things, and he flexes his mind. So obviously, a person who's lived millennia and able to travel through time back and forth, knows all, bees all, and everything else is just primitive, and everyone else is like ants to him. You can see how this guy has the ego of Cain the Conqueror, maybe more of an ego. And then we get to this flashback to Meridius in the garden. This is exactly what takes place in issue number 1, how Eddie Brock sends his mind back in time and he comes across with Meridius. And we pick off exactly where we left off in issue number 1. In the back of his mind, he's like, look at him, struggling out of the ooze like a lungfish he is. He's just silly and a primitive creature. But you know what? He's going to try to befriend him, earn his trust, make it seem like he's his mentor. But deep down or inside of all that, Meridius hates Eddie Brock, but this is a chess game to him. This is a game to him. So as Eddie Brock recovers himself, he takes a walk with Meridius. You said this was your garden. He's like, yes, I shaped it to my preferences. Yes, the sleeping symbiotes aren't disturbed by that. It's just a beautiful flower if you look at it that way. Trust me, after 10,000 years, shape becomes a meaningless concept. And Eddie Brock's like, dude, you're speaking like you're from out of this world, because he's literally like from out of this time. If you say so, maybe I'll ask one of them. But if you can plug in like that, you must be like, and he interrupts him because, you know, he's from the past, right? And from the future, and he's like, knows what he's gonna say. You mean like no, like a king in black? And Eddie Brock's like, well, are you like no? Are you him? Oh no, I am not no, but I am a king in black. In fact, we all are. But in the back of Meridius' mind, he's like, how little you understand, you primitive being, you're so stupid. But he's just has to play along with him because this is a chess game that he's playing with Eddie Brock. And he introduces Eddie Brock to these new fishes, Wild and Tyro. Wild is a king from the relatively soon after your own time, Eddie Brock. Tyro, he's more well-behaved, and he's from what, like a later timeline. And you guessed it, Eddie, they're both king and black, just from different timelines. Obviously, they both came here the same way you did. And Tyro interrupts him by saying, yeah, by unshackling your mind from the flow of time. Just like how Eddie Brock did. He's physically not there, but this is his conscience, this is his mind that's in the garden of time. And Meridius, we get to see how powerful and how on top of the hierarchy that Meridius is when he tells these other king and blacks, don't ever speak for me, especially to Tyro. And Tyro's like, I'm so sorry, Meridius, I didn't mean to disrespect you, I just want to learn from you. And he's like bootlicking, kissing his ass, brown nosing, because Meridius is just all that powerful in his thing. So Meridius apologizes to Eddie Brock. It's frustrating how we're all king and blacks, but that doesn't make us friends. But don't worry, Eddie Brock, I'm going to teach you how to navigate through time so you can get through your own timeline. And then another symbiote comes, and another king in black, Finnegan, and these symbiotes, Tyro and Wild, all know like, oh boy, here we go again. And before Finnegan can warn Eddie Brock about something, just please listen. You have to listen to me. Just have a few seconds. That's all I need. Bedlam, which is like Meridius' pet, comes in and just fights Finnegan, like, get out of here, I will kill you, I hate you. And Eddie Brock's like, what in the hell is going on? Oh, Wild is like, that's just Bedlam, I'm sorry, he's got a lot of problems, they both do. Just die, says Bedlam, and they just go after one another. And Eddie Brock's like, dude, I can't stand by and watch this. And Wild and Tyro are like, dude, you're just gonna let Eddie Brock fight him? Like, you're just gonna let this happen? Let him go if he wants to. It doesn't matter. I've seen the future. It doesn't matter. So if you notice in the beginning of this issue, there's a small little hint when Meridius is passing through time where he foresees Eddie Brock fighting Bedlam. But it doesn't matter to him because he knows the outcome of it. And Bedlam fights back with Eddie Brock, biting his arm. It's like, it's surprising like you just see your arm bitten off, but this is your conscience, so he's not in his physical body, you know? Look at these cavemen go. like just primitive creatures, just going to work at one another. And Wilder's like, we all can't be as enlightened as you, Meridius. How come it's not you breaking this nonsense up? And Meridius is like, why should I? We're kings in black, minds without bodies, in the garden of bodies without minds. Let the goose splatter. If that's how Bella wants to ease his tension, it won't hurt anyone. Oh, so I guess that's just practical, right? Well, wait till Eddie Brock finds out the truth, says Wild, that you're trapped as we are in a cage all your own. You created this environment, so this is your own cage. And what's funny is, first, Finnegan tries to warn Eddie Brock about something. Now he's encouraging Bedlam to kill Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock's like, what the heck are you doing? I was the one trying to save you. I saved that gray guy. He wanted me dead, and that moss, you just let him attack people? Bedlam takes Finnegan away, and Meridius is like, Finnegan is very disturbed as always when new arrivals approach, and he comes across with that same babble, and it just angers Bedlam, as you saw. I'm afraid it's just something that happens. And Wilder's like, sure, something that always happens. Not like you can do anything to change that, right? And you travel through time, so what the heck? And Meridian's like, hey, chill, I got things to attend to, so I'm leaving. Tyro will show you the guard of Eddie Brock. And before Tyro decides to give Eddie Brock the tour, he calls Meridius like, before you leave, there's something I meant to say. I forgot to, I don't care what you gotta say. How pathetic you are. Stop crawling after me and do as you're told, as a ridiculous child you are. I have places to be. And Meridius, matter from symbiote form, leaves and just travels back. But Eddie Brock is smart enough to know there's something larger at play. He sees how much of an a-hole that Meridius is. And as Meridius is traveling through time, he just goes on to this monologue that they're all children to me, kings in black. Eddie Brock is most of all the child. Still, he's merely an irritation. Tyro, his wheedling need to desperate bootlicking is a source of rage. What was he trying to remember? I should have listened, but then again, I can't forget it. I can't go back. Damn him, all of them. Damn every king in black but me. I'm too angry for delicate work. I need to relieve my frustrations. But there's a moment in the past that is waiting for Meridius to visit. And this is a callback to issue number 1 where Eddie Brock is going across the galaxy saving lives and going on these rescue missions where Ringo tells Eddie Brock, you've lost, consider it a loss. But in that time, that was Meridius doing that. By him doing it, it made him feel so much better just to, really mess and set the things in motion for Eddie Brock. But before he can destroy his body, he goes back in time to get his hands dirty and do it himself. And then we go back to issue number 1 where he goes into Eddie Brock's house while Dylan's asleep. Now, as he forms into Eddie Brock and uses his human voice as Eddie Brock, he wakes up Dylan. Wake up, wake up. Lays it out play for play how he's going to tell Dylan to wake up, telling him to pack his bags. Eddie's negligence has left the child disoriented, easily directed. Bernice is like, I'll set him running to the hotel where he'll watch his father die, and it'll trigger a response, and he'll trigger a bond for him to bond with Venom, the symbiote. But something needs to start him on that way, and I won't leave that to chance, which is why he's doing it himself. And he'll leave some evidence pointing Dylan Brock to the motel, and while he's looking around in the house, he just sees this mess, and he sees this rat, and he calls it vermin, and he uses his symbiote just to eat the rat and feel his skull pop inside of his mask. And he hears Dylan talking to Eddie Brock over the phone, which is still a callback to issue number 1. He hears Eddie Brock's over the phone, and he's like, is that you, Eddie? I honestly couldn't say that for sure at this point. And he knows Eddie Brock escapes the garden, but he doesn't know how. How do you return to this moment? Or is that me from farther along on my own timeline? I don't know, but he hears the voice to go to the motel. The voice on the phone says, but whatever you do, don't bond with the symbiote. And Meridius in Eddie Brock's body is like, oh, Eddie, I honestly hope that is you. I hope you're that much of a fool. But Meridius tells himself, I mustn't get too confident, because usually villains who are that cocky with that much ego, or they're too confident, and usually that's their demise. In the end, all Eddie really is to me is just another playing piece. The true game against my true opponent has only just begun. This intrigues him, because he doesn't know if that Eddie Brock who's talking to Dylan over the phone is him or if it's Eddie, but he knows Eddie escapes the garden but doesn't know the play here. But he made the first move. Dylan Brock bonds with the symbiote. That's what needs to be established, and that is unalterable. So now the symbiote will begin its own journey to the place where I am waiting, and when it arrives, I will greet it, and I will shed the name Meridius as I have so many times before. For on that day, we will become Venom. And that's how we end Venom issue number 5. I'm cool with this issue. I thought this was a gangster read. Link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. I love how a villain who's that egotistical can travel through time and is so confident, and he's going through millennia, setting up these pieces, setting up the past, the future for an outcome that he wants to control, that he needs to lead to. Now, I love how it's interesting how he doesn't know if that's Eddie Brock from the future talking to his son or if it's him, but it intrigues him. I dig it. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this issue plays out, and I definitely will be reviewing further issues of this line. With that being said, Venom issue number 5. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy, don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.